So you can't, how do you expect people to know if you don't tell them? Some of us are entrepreneurs. We're upset that nobody's calling us. Nobody's giving us a chance. Nobody's buying our materials or inviting us to come. But you haven't told anybody what you're doing. Like, we don't read minds, and attention is the new commerce now. So you got to tell people. You got to be bold enough to believe in what you have that you're willing to tell people. I put it all over social media. My book is out.
Thought Fortunes Podcast, episode 19. Guiding the Emerging Leaders with Pierre C. Quinn. Welcome to another episode of the Thought Fortunes Podcast. I am your host, D. Orlando Fortune. This is a show about business and authors. With the growing demand for information, entrepreneurs must learn how to turn their ideas into words on a page that bring in cash and share a unique message. This podcast brings you the strategies, tips, and bars to do just that and do it well using a book. Today's show is sponsored by Thought Fortune Press. You probably know that if you're not an authority in your industry, nobody's hearing your message. And you may know that the number one way to build your authority is by authoring a book. What you probably don't know is that you can write the manuscript for your first book in less than 4 hours. I'm D. Orlando Fortune from Thought Fortune Press, where we turn your ideas into a branded book that brings in the cash by sharing your unique message and positioning you as an authority in your industry. If you're an entrepreneur or speaker who's thinking about already writing or wanting to publish your next book, but don't want to write it or just want help getting it done, your first step is a Wealthy Author Roadmap, which is a 2.5-hour call where we design your book's content, create a publishing timeline that fits your goals, and come up with 3 ways to turn your book into back-end products. What makes us different is that we know a book is only the first step into your world. So we work with you on creating a signature suite of products, all from your book's one outline. We do that using our proprietary systems. To get started on your personalized Wealthy Author Roadmap, go to thoughtfortunepress.com and click the gold Start Here button at the top of the page. Remember, you're only one book away. Let us at Thought Fortune Press guide you to becoming an author. Go to thoughtfortunepress.com today. Oh man, this episode is pretty powerful if you allow it to be. I mean, I guess all of the episodes truly are powerful if you allow them to be. The thing about this is that another speaker we have here who is great at storytelling. And if you're trying to be a powerful speaker, trying to be a powerful thought leader, and especially when you're getting to writing your books, it is extremely important that you're able to tell your story with enough detail to have people engaged, enough emotion for them to care, and enough information for them to have a takeaway from that. And you'll hear in today's conversation with Pierre Quinn how to do that through storytelling from a teacher, and he's also a pastor, former pastor. He has retired as of the recording of this episode. And how to do that as a presenter. Like, you're just going to hear it multiple times throughout this conversation where Pierre goes into storytelling and quickly pulls out some points at the end of that. You keep hearing me say this, and I'm saying that for a reason. Get good at telling stories. And Pierre's going to give you a simple strategy that he uses in order for him to get better at finding the right stories to illustrate and demonstrate his points. Pay attention to when he talks about getting into places and spaces where you can be affirmed and how that will affect your life. There's a really good story about how Pierre is trying to get onto stages and he's just sending out these emails, and he finally gets an email from this English professor that told him that he needs to stop sending these emails. But something surprising happens after that story. You want to pay attention to what happens in that situation and how that launched his speaking career from that one email in a response from that English professor. Then there's another pulling story, another emotional story where Pierre talks about making lunch for his kids and what happened after making lunch for his kids that caused him not only to cry, for his wife to cry, for his kids to start getting emotional, but something after that event that turned his business around. Pay attention to what happened in that situation and see how you get to that point in your life and how it either is going to come up and you're going to change, or it's happened and you've changed and you want to stay the course. Also pay attention to what it means when Pierre says that attention is the new commerce, and then what you should do with that. He breaks down a great example of what that looks like and how he's using attention as a form of commerce in his business. This is a great conversation, as all of these episodes are. So get your pen and your paper and get ready to take some notes. Talk to you soon.
All right, y'all. I am so excited to have another author here on TFP. I'm so excited. You know what? We don't have a lot of time to get into today. You do my extra talking. So I'm going to let my guest talking. So let's get straight into the bio here. So Pierre Quinn is a sought after speaker, author, educator, consultant, and minister who focuses on helping others to live, learn, and lead with confidence. As a gifted communicator and engaging storyteller, the most frequently asked question is, guess this, when can Pierre come back? For nearly a decade, Pierre taught college students the fundamental principles of communication, interpersonal relationships, team building, and leadership. His classroom experience created opportunities to connect with leaders across the country. Pierre is the author of Leading While Green, How Emerging Leaders Can Ripen into Effective Leaders, and his most recent book, Leading While Scared, How to Find the Courage to Keep Going. He is the CEO of the Cardell Group, LLC, a consulting firm which focuses on growing leaders and empowering teams of all sizes. Pierre holds graduate degrees in communication and theology from Andrews University and a certificate in executive leadership from yes, he had to come out to the alma mater to get to finish and wrap everything out at Howard University. Pierre Quinn, welcome to the podcast. Is there anything you want to add to your bio there?
Man, by far, being a husband and a dad are my greatest leadership joys and challenges, all wrapped into one, bro. No doubt about it.
So, Dad, how old is the little one?
Whew, my youngest is 9. My oldest is 11. So we're in that preteen phase, and I'm about to lose some more here because I don't know what I'm gonna have to read a book about this section.
Excellent. Yeah, man. I still got the little 5-year-old daughter, and I'm, not married or anything. So it's like, I don't know a lot of stuff, and trying to figure out how to be, I don't know, like this. I don't know what I don't know that I need to know,
man,
and then I read some stuff, and by the time I understand it, she's grown to the next stage.
Yeah, that's about right.
Excellent. Well, welcome to the podcast here. Let's go ahead and kick this off with a simple question, easy question for you. What are you reading now?
Man, so I'm one of those guys that's like a serial reader. I got books in every section of my house. I mean, in the dining room table, the side table, in my little man cave here, there are books strewn everywhere. And it's just crazy. So one of the books I'm reading right now is Leadership by John Maxwell. I'm a big John Maxwell guy. Like, I've been reading Maxwell since the 90s and just kind of consume everything he writes. But this book that I'm reading, Leadership by him, is really, really good. And you can see he's bringing to bear all of his knowledge for all of these years being a leadership guru and then like shifting. Because his mission right now, he knows he's up in age. His energy level isn't the same. So he's trying to empower and equip the next generation of leaders and world changers. So all of his writing bends toward that end. And Leadership is really good. It's really good.
Excellent. Yes, definitely have that in the show notes. I love some John Maxwell, and even his whole strategy of how he writes books, and it's like every 8-9 months he has a new book out, something crazy like that.
Right.
And for TFP family to realize that what John Maxwell, he's talking about one subject. Now he may have some spinoffs every so often, some workbooks thrown in here, things of that nature, but for the most part, he's talking about leadership.
Yeah.
Now, how can you write 70, 80, I don't know how many books is there at this point. These are at least 70 books on leadership.
Yeah.
And all of them be 100 pages or plus. All right. And that just speaks to the amount of knowledge as you start growing and really diving into your niche. So let's talk to you, dive into what is your niche and what your message is. Similar to like how you brought up with great leadership guru there and John Maxwell. Let's talk to us. Tell us about your business and why you do what you do.
Okay, so man, so much to unpack here because I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. So my father, a quick story about my dad. My dad is from the South. He is from Tylertown, Mississippi. My mother is from El Dorado, Arkansas. So my parents are Southern. Now I was born in the North in Michigan, about 25 minutes north of Detroit in a city called Pontiac, where the Lions used to play. We're still terrible no matter where we play, but where they used to play before they moved to Ford Field. So I grew up General Motors, manufacturing town, blue collar town, with a father who was an entrepreneur. So at about 18, 19 years old, my dad was in community college and he worked a summer job. But the summer job paid so much money. So when he went back to school to try to get aid, they were like, listen, you make too much money. Your income is too big. So you can't, and this is, in the 70s. You can't get financial aid. So a little distraught, but he had taken one class. That class was in real estate science. So his girlfriend at the time helped him buy some real estate books. And at 19 years old, my father was a licensed real estate agent. By the time he was 25, he was one of the top listing agents in his real estate firm. And at 26, he and my grandmother and my uncle opened up their first dry cleaning operation. So I grew up in the family of entrepreneurs. I grew up working under the table, learning the fundamentals of customer service and dealing with difficult people and putting a product out there. So that's kind of always been in my blood. That's always been in my blood. So now, years later, I started my company about 3 years ago. My dad was like, what took you so long? And the focus of my company is the Cardell Group is a focus on emerging leadership. Okay. That is young leaders who are just getting started, who are just like me, who didn't know. You got gifts, talents, abilities, skills, opportunities, but you don't know what to do with them. And people tell you things like nebulous things like you're going to be a leader one day, but they don't tell you the how and they don't tell you the what. So what I do in keynotes, in coaching, in training, and both digital and print resources is provide that advice and counsel for emerging leaders who are just getting started and for seasoned leaders who now have to deal with emerging leaders.
Excellent. Okay, so by emerging, are we focusing kind of on millennials or just anyone who's in the beginning stages of understanding they are a leader?
So my definition of emerging is whenever you change seats, you're an emerging leader.
Okay.
So if you go from project manager to senior director, no matter your age, you're sitting in a new seat. You got a new vantage point. You got to learn some skills all over again. So it's irrespective of age. It's essentially whenever your responsibilities shift and there is a learning curve, I define you as an emerging leader, regardless of your age.
Interesting. Okay, so now my question to you, as far as the entrepreneurial aspect, is the family got real estate and started buying these traditional businesses. I'm understanding there. Why do you decide to go into the leadership, the thought leadership, the thinking, that portion, as opposed to selling products yourself?
Well, my father, when I was growing up and I would ride in the car with him, he would be listening to these sales tapes. And I didn't know I was listening to these guys. So I've been listening to Les Brown and Zig Ziglar and Earl Nightingale as a kid growing up. So now when I'm getting older and I'm rediscovering these things, my dad is telling me, I used to listen to those things when you were a kid. So it's kind of built into the fiber of my maturation process, this idea of motivation, of success, of empowering people. Now, growing up in the family business, I saw all of it, the ins and outs, the ups and downs. And part of me said, because eventually we went into bankruptcy in the mid to late 90s, I was like, I don't want to do that. I'm not trying to do that. But I always had a penchant, a gift for public speaking. So, growing up, I was a church kid. And if you're an African-American church kid and you can speak well, like they put you in front of the microphone. Like there's no like
announcements, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, you're gonna speak for Children's Day. Stand up on the little stool. So, that's how I got started. And then when I went to college, I was trying to figure out what to major in. And I stumbled upon communication. I was like, oh, you have to give speeches. You have to teach people how to do speeches, analyze, persuasion, breakdown. Oh, I got that. That's in the bag. And when I started, it just came so natural to me. And then when I went into grad school, my grad school dean was like, yo, I need you to be a professor. I need you to teach other kids who come from your background how to use their gift. And it really got me along this idea of teaching. And then a light bulb clicked, like, man, what's the entrepreneurial aspect of this? Because when you look at most job postings, they say near the top, we're looking for someone with effective communication skills. But in the higher education process, it's not really something that we underscore. Kids, a lot of young people have the option. Do I take a communications course or public speaking course or group dynamics course? And what I tell people all the time is much of higher ed teaches you how to be good by yourself.
Yeah.
Your grades, your study, your practice. But then when you get into the professional world, you got to figure out how to be good with other people. You got to talk, relate, connect. And I found that there is a niche for teaching people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, how to be better speakers, how to be better communicators, things that they should have learned in their maturation and education process, but didn't learn. And they pay handsomely.
We got our first bar dropped in there. So I want to step in. I want to just touch back on something you said there, because I want to make sure TFP family hears that process that you went through, because some of us are trying to find our path and are so focused on, I need to know what it is that what I need to do. But what I hear from your story is that even though first bar stopped in there is embedding these seeds into your kids when you was young, you didn't know it. So my daughter's been hearing the same stuff in the car. We don't listen to a lot of music. She's hearing podcasts. She's hearing personal development. She's just hearing all these different speaking motivation all around it, right?
Yeah.
But that's one thing. So to embed that seeds and it comes out later, right? However, you also talked about, you went into, you saw what your passion was, something that you're going to be good at, and you stepped into, how do I get better at this?
Yeah.
Okay. Then you got into that. Then you had the next aspect of teaching. And now it's like, well, how do I go back to your roots, which are entrepreneurship? How do I turn my teaching and my speaking into a business? And that is a sound model for all TFP family hearing right now. Is like the things that you are great at and your experiences, you will, if you look from the perspective, how can I monetize this? How can I get paid to do this? You have a business right there. So I love that you broke that down right there in the process that you came through. So how do we get up? I want to touch on one other thing you also said there too. You talked about communication. Yeah. And as you were saying it, I was like, dang, I think I took a communication class my freshman year, and that was it. I was in School of Business, and I was like, that's it. I never had another communication class that I can remember. That's crazy, but it makes so much sense that I got to communicate. The leaders need effective communication. Team members need effective communication. They don't really teach it. So I love that that's a great space you're stepping into. So as you step into this business, you said you want to help 20, 30, 40, 50-year-old leaders and to go step into their new roles, into their emergent leadership. You decided to write a book then, or when did the first book come out on the leadership, Green?
Yeah, so I wrote Leading While Green back in 2015 is when I wrote the book. So here's the scenario. And I got stories for days, okay?
That sounds good.
2015, man, so let's back up a little bit more. Finished grad school. I finished grad school the first time, and I took a job at NGO, a non-government organization, doing fundraising, communication pieces, writing. I got a travel to Ethiopia. It was a great trip. Also heartbreaking when you see some of the work that NGOs do. And I came back from that trip kind of doing a bit of soul searching, and I was like, this ain't it. This ain't it. This is not it. So I'm a person of faith, and my faith journey was like, you need to go back. You kind of need to massage this faith thing just a little bit more. So I go back to school and I train to be a pastor. So I'm in seminary and theological studies for 3 years, but I get my old job back teaching. So, which is great because I got income. And then I picked up another job teaching at a college that was about 30 minutes away from my school. And I'm loving it. I'm dying because, I'm taking 16 graduate credits. I'm teaching 2 classes. I got a side job, little baby at home, sleeping like 3 hours a night, but I'm loving it. So I finished I finished the second graduate degree. And I remember when I was finishing, the school offered me an opportunity to teach full time. And I was like, nah, this ain't it. But they invited me to do my final lecture. They're like, we need you to coalesce everything you learned about teaching and learning and your journey down into like an hour lecture. And we're going to hold a special assembly. We're going to invite people from campus. So I gave that final lecture, maybe about 100 people in the room. And when I finished, another young lady in the grad program, she said to me, yo, have you ever thought about being like a public speaker? I was like, nope. She said, you should, because you're good. Mm-hmm. And the power of affirmation, bro, like getting into places and spaces where you can be affirmed goes a long way. So I spent that summer while I'm looking for a job to be a pastor. I spent that summer trying to figure out, Googling, how do you become a public speaker? How do you become? And I sent out my first set of emails and they were trash. And I remember somebody wrote me back and they said, if you keep sending out messages like this, you will never get hired.
Wow. Okay.
And so
you're not defeated.
No, I'm not defeated. So, and I don't know if the person was trying to slander me or help me, because the message came mixed in there. And because this was like an English professor or something. I don't know how I sent this person this email to ask to speak at their school, but she rewrote my email.
Oh, wow.
She said, send your email out like this. And I was like, oh, after I picked my feelings up off the floor, I started sending out this email. Now, this is in June of 2011. May, June of 2012. Mm-hmm. July of 2012, I get a job as a pastor. I moved to Kentucky, and I'm lost because I've had 3 years of theological training, but I don't know how to lead in a pastoral context. This is a different type of leadership.
Yeah.
So I start writing notes about my journey, journaling what I was going through. And then I was sharing it with my friends, and they were like, yo, can you send me a copy of that? I'm like, this is kind of my personal journey. They're like, well, can you put it in a book? And I was like, nah, I'm not really down for writing a book. At the same time, my dad is making a pivot because he is a business coach. And I told my dad, I said, Dad, book is a new business card. You kind of need to write a book. Mm-hmm. And he was like, nah, it's too difficult. It's too much to go through. Mm-hmm. So we kind of sat on the idea for a couple of years. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to write this book to prove to you that you can write a book easily. Mm-hmm. So that was my catalyst for writing the book. It wasn't that I wanted to produce some leadership book. I was trying to show my dad that this could be done. And this is the new way of marketing for this generation. And I had the source material of my leadership journey, and I put it together and scraped by on a shoestring budget. I mean, listen, I think I did that book for like $200.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
I got it out there, flaws and all, and that really just ignited the journey.
Excellent. I love that. So, and you wrote the book to help spark your father, to inspire him to write his book, also to help build his business. Mm-hmm. When did you decide that it was actually something that you could use for yourself, or when did you start leveraging that?
So I wrote the book, and Well, if you know anything about anybody who's a pastor who is in the ministry space, what you see on TV and even in many places on social media from these high profile figures of faith, that's like a small percentage. Most of us are in perpetual struggle mode, like perpetual. I mean, cats out here just broke. All right. We're trying to do our job, trying to teach, trying to inspire and encourage people to get their lives on the right track. And it's a tough job. Now, at the time, I was pastoring 2 small churches, and we were just kind of broke. And as a person of faith, again, the impulse I got was, you need to finish this project, because this is the next phase of what life and helping people looks like for you. You're not going to be doing this pastoring thing in the local congregation context forever. It's a new, a different avenue. So I'm wrestling with the catalyst to help my dad, and also this impulse that I really need to kind of birth this project. And I sat on it, man. And man, we hit a rough patch, man. We were just flat broke. My wife's a stay-at-home mom. I got 2 small churches. I'm trying to like speak and stuff on the side. Flat broke. Went to the refrigerator one day. Like, I knew nothing was, I don't know why I went to the refrigerator, because I knew there's nothing in the refrigerator. But I went to the refrigerator because I had to make lunches for my kids for the next day, and there was just no food in there. And, you know, I shed a couple tears. And for so many different reasons. And I remember my oldest at the time, she asked me, "Why are you crying?" And I didn't respond. Then she asked my wife, is Daddy crying because we don't have any food? And so I swallowed my pride. I called my pops. I asked him for a couple dollars. And he didn't have a lot of money at the time either, so he gave me what he could. And I didn't know that at the time, when my wife took the couple of dollars and she went to the store to grab some food. My wife didn't tell me this till years later. So when she went to the store, she actually asked people for money. She asked people for a couple of dollars to add to what the little we had, so we could get some more food. And I was like kind of devastated hearing it years later.
Right.
And man, we got through that section of time and this impulse to write this book. And I finished writing the book. Get the first copies. I only have, and I don't know if you talk about Amazon and KDP Publishing on your podcast, but I got those. I got like 4, what do they call them? Preview copies of the book.
Yeah.
Because that's all I had money for. All I had money for were the preview copies. And I ordered them, and I put on social media that my book was out, because I need to sell it so I can buy the copies of it.
Yeah.
And when I put it out, another church organization, part of the church organization that I work for, said, "Hey, Quinn, we see that you have a book out. So you can't. How do you expect people to know if you don't tell them?" Some of us are entrepreneurs. We're upset that nobody's calling us, nobody's giving us a chance, nobody's buying our materials or inviting us to come. But you haven't told anybody what you're doing. Like, we don't read minds. And attention is the new commerce now. So you got to tell people, you got to be bold enough to believe in what you have that you're willing to tell people. I put it all over social media. My book is out. They call and say, "Hey, Quinn, we see you have a new book out, and we're having a leadership conference. We got 100 people. We want to buy a copy of the book for each of the attendees. And we want you to come and give 3 talks over the weekend about leadership."
Look at him.
I was
watch him work. Watch him work.
So I said, because my father's an entrepreneur, so some things have rubbed off. I said, "Okay, great. Here's what I need you to do. Happy to arrange the time to come and speak, and I'm free that weekend. But I need you to pay for the book first, because I ain't got no money."
Right. Yeah.
So I remember driving to pick up the check for the books. It was 100 books. I sold them at $10 a piece. So I got $1,000. The book through Amazon KDP at the time, I think it was like $235 for me to buy a copy and then turn around and resell it. So I did the margin I had, and I was like, the light bulb went off again. Like,
yeah.
So you mean to tell me when people on the internet say I'm giving away my book for free, just pay for shipping and handling.
That's it.
And shipping and handling is $7. They've only paid about $2 for the book, so they still make a mark. Oh, okay. Got it.
Got that one.
I got it. and from that experience, man, I just started sharing pictures of when I would go and share my book, and people just started calling. And then I'm still doing the cold calls. I'm still doing the cold emails because my father was a salesperson. I'm still getting a conversion rate of one person responding for every 100 emails that I send out. But I so believed in the message of helping emerging leaders, of being scared, leading while scared, and not knowing what to do, that I was able to. And people not still now in the sales cycle, people say, I don't know who you are, or no, I'm not interested. But that I hurry up and get past that person, because the yes person requires that I go through these rejections and no's to get to the people who really need the service that I provide.
So yeah, we just dropped another bar right there. Definitely said bar. So let's catch it, man. First off, I appreciate you telling that story. I know that was a touching story in there, and I could feel the desperation, the pain from that experience. But I also hear that you have that glory that comes out of it. You have that because of that story, you're to help inspire some other people to push through those struggle points, those challenges in life, as you have. And not only did you push through it, but you've also learned from that experience that it's okay to continue to push through in those. Because there's going to be that period of 99 people that are like, I'll pass right now. But then you get that one. And so all those opportunities where he's like, got this book out here, I'm trying to figure out what to do. I don't know how to, I don't have any money to pay to sell this book right now, or to get my own copies to sell the book. And then boom, let a guy show up in your life and show you, I believe in you. You've been faithful. I'm going to reward you for your work, right? I love hearing that aspect of it. But it's really what I'm hearing there is pushing through those moments when you don't know whether you're supposed to, how you're going to go forward. Like, things are gone crazy. Things are not gone the way you've imagined them, but it doesn't mean that you're supposed to stop that journey. So I thank you for sharing that touching moment in your life. So let me ask you this: as you continue to you have another book that came out after that on leadership also, and I want to ask, what was your business like before you wrote that book? Because we got an idea of what it was before they wrote the book there. But just kind of touch a little more about how this started transitioning you to a new aspect in your business, and how you started leveraging that to start. As you said, man, you said already, they pay well once you land the application. So talk to us about what happened with using the book and leveraging into other speaking engagements, training, keynotes, all that, so forth.
Yeah. So when my first paid speaking engagement came.
That's crucial. Paid versus
came in 2013. Now, understand, I grown up in the church, so a lot of speaking in the faith market. College professor for almost, at the time, it had been 8 years. So speaking every day, multiple times a week to different audiences. And then I was a recruiter for my university for a while. So I had a lot of experience speaking. Now, I'm not thinking about this at the time in terms of building a business, but it's a great thing to do, is to take stock of all of your experiences and what you've learned from it. And then how do you pivot or leverage what you've already gone through. So 2013, I don't have a book out yet in 2013. The book doesn't come out to 2015. I'm still trying to figure out how to be a professional speaker. And I'm doing the cold email things, and I got a response from University of Louisville. And I talked to a lady there in the African American Male Initiative and Student Retention Program.
Wow, you remember that whole name? Okay.
Oh man, I remember. Listen, you remember the first check, bro? Yeah. I talked to them and I said, listen, I resonate with what you're doing. I was an honors graduate of high school, but then when I went to college, did some foolish stuff, partied, lost my academic scholarship, was on academic probation. So I kind of fit all of the metrics of the audience that you're speaking to, and I have a message for them. And sharing, I was a teacher for all of these years. I'm experienced in talking to young people, X, Y, and Z. And, we had a conversation on the phone, and she said, what's your price? Now, I haven't Googled that far to get the prices, so I don't know yet. So I pause for just a few moments because I got to give her a number. And I say, my price is $1,700. This was for one 45-minute presentation to African American male initiative and retention students. One 45-minute presentation, $1,700. As I was ending the sentence of saying $1,700, she says, okay, good, no problem. I said, man, I messed up.
Should have asked her.
That's the rule. If they don't pause, you too low.
Yeah.
So I did that engagement and I started leveraging that engagement. So by the time the book is out, book is the new business card still. That price point is different. So you can't, not only is the price point different, now I have leverage to go into the corporate market, because corporate is all about not just inspiration, but what resources, what evidence do you have? And being an African-American male, listen, I don't care what these people tell you on the internet. I don't care what these speaker programs tell you. It's different for us. It's different. You got to come with it. You got to be twice as good. So having this book now, because once you write a book, you become an authority. It opens up different doors. They have to treat you different, and the price points are different. So fast forward to a month ago. A month ago, I don't pastor a church anymore. I do this full time.
Oh, that's what's up. Well, congratulations.
Yeah. So because it pays.
So you're full-time speaking at this point is what we're hearing now.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. I've heard you dropped a lot of knowledge here, a lot of stories that I believe the audiences, our TFP family is definitely going to pull some of their own experiences out of and start seeing how they can continue to move forward. I particularly want to hear what you have learned during the writing process, because you also definitely want to touch upon that second book. And I want to get into maybe some particulars of the second book, that Emerging Leaders there. Yeah. And maybe, since there's two aspects of leadership we're talking about, so you may want to touch upon both of those. But what have you learned during the writing process? And I'm not specifically saying like writing skills. Like what have you learned about life, about business from that writing process?
Yeah. So a huge thing that I've learned is there is somebody who needs to hear what you got to say. A lot of us, when we come down to writing a book, we start thinking crazy things. And one of the crazy things that we think is, who's going to read it? Who's going to be interested in what I have to say? And there's a book that I keep on my shelf. I don't see it right offhand, but I've never read the book. I bought it at the bookstore because I saw it on the bookshelf and I said, that is one of the most interesting titles I've ever seen. And I bought the book as a reminder that if there is a book on this, I can write a book.
What? Okay. What's the title of the book, man?
And the book is, I don't know if there it is. I don't know if people are going to, if you're listening to this or you're watching a video, this book that I keep on my shelf is called Winnie the Pooh on Management.
Love it. They was pulling, bro. They was trying to create something creative.
So, and I bought this at Barnes and Noble.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't just that means a big company published that thing.
So I said, if this book can be on the shelf at Barnes and Noble, then I got a chance. I've never read this book. I'm gonna read it eventually, but it's a reminder. It just sits on my bookshelf as a reminder that if you have the bravery to write a book on the correlating Winnie the Pooh and management, then somebody can hear my message. And I also realized, man, I know a lot more. I've had a lot more relevant experiences than I've taken stock of. And it was only in the process of sitting down and going back. And this is how really many of the stories that I can tell so easily off the top of my head, because in the writing process, I'm going back and remembering what were the significant points in my life. What were the lessons from those things? Man, that was really transformative. And when you begin to put 10 to 12 experiences together, you realize, wow, I do have a body of work. I do have a collection of stories and insights that people want to learn from. And then you realize you are more valuable than you think. You are more valuable than you think. When you start to think about all the things that you've been through, all the lessons that you've learned, all the times that you've grown. And it really helped to bolster my confidence in what I was doing and in myself and in my journey. Because up until that point, up until when I started writing, I never took the time to take stock in who is Pierre? What does he contribute to the world? How is he a person of value? How can he help people? It was only through the intentional writing process of going back over my personal history to say, man, there's a lot inside of you that you need to shed some light on. And it was really only through that writing process that I said, wow, there's a lot more here than I give credit for.
I love that. Look, I love what you just said there, in that your mind, the analogy that came to mind was, or a metaphor that came to mind was about mining my past for gold.
Yeah.
Mining my life for gold, diamonds, jewelries, whatever you want to, you put it as there, whatever makes your heart flutter, whatever, is that you're diving in there, but you have to go look for those acres. What's the book called? Acres of Diamonds, where you understand it's already inside of you. It's your wealth is already there on the property and the land you have. And particularly right now, metaphorically speaking, it's within your story, within you. I love that you said that. And as you start exploring your life, you start seeing so much more to who you are. And you'll be able to not only to share your stories now, but able to speak it with confidence. Like, man, I have truly learned this. Let me tell you about how I learned it, though. And so with speaking about touching on those stories, we're able to pull them out of there. You dropped a nice little bar for those who are listening to the real nuggets behind the nuggets, is that you were journaling these stories in the beginning.
Yeah.
And you were just journaling your process, what you were going through. You were sharing it with a few people, and they said, you need to turn this into a book. So you kind of had that idea, the process of putting your stories down already. And now you get to the point where you want to write this book and then try to figure out what stories are going to help me share this lesson, which I believe is partly part of your not only teaching at the collegiate level, but also being a minister is being able to use stories to leverage the lesson. So speak to that tip real quickly. Quickly on how the importance of using a story for its lessons. That's coming back from both sides again.
So I have an undergraduate and graduate degree in communication. I also have a graduate degree in theology. And in my undergraduate and graduate degree in communication, we did a lot of media literacy, persuasion, communication studies. And you realize everything is storytelling. Everything is storytelling. So, and I always got books. I got a book by Matthew Loon. Matthew Loon is one of the principal artists at Pixar. And he wrote a book, and every Pixar movie, he's virtually been a part of it. He wrote a book called The Best Story Wins.
Definitely been in the show notes.
The Best Story Wins, How to Leverage Hollywood Storytelling in Business and Beyond. And when you think about it, everything is built on story. For example, I was watching a commercial earlier today from a jewelry store. And the jewelry store, I think it was K Jewelers, right? Every kiss begins with a K. You remember that tagline.
Yeah.
And I remember watching in the advertisement, the guy opens up a ring box, and then the girl smiles, and she kisses him, they're hugging, and the camera's tilting and all around. What's the story? The story that they've told you is that if you get a jewelry ring, you're going to get the girl. Mm-hmm. Now, they didn't come out verbatim, and that was the copy that they read to you. But in 90 seconds, that was the picture, and that was the story they gave you, the images and the music, because everything is built on a story. A car commercial, if you pull up wherever you pull up, the awards ceremony or the club or the awards banquet, like in these Lexus commercials, if you pull up in this car, you'll be noticed, you'll be popular, people will take your picture, and they'll let you behind the velvet rope. That's the story they're telling you in 90 seconds. So everything is built on story. So if you want to convince, persuade, enlighten, guide a person, you do it through story. Is the oldest form of teaching. It's been around for forever. And you remember it. Research proves that if you attach facts, figures, and research to a story, the retention goes up exponentially versus if you just told people the facts, figures, and information. And that's what I pulled out of my graduate studies. If the better storytellers, if you weave that information into a story, people will retain that information for much, much longer.
See, now TFP family, you know why I let people just tell their story down there. I didn't know that. I just know it worked for me. Now we got proof that what I've been doing is going to work and why it works. So as we move forward here, wrapping up here for today, we're going to go into your last little personal pieces here. But I really want to ask you this: is that what's your best book promo tip for TFP family? How are you best thing for doing that? I know you've done a lot of research. You probably did some Googling. What are you doing?
Yeah. So there's different circles, right? First, consider the people who your family and friends. Please don't get mad at them if they don't buy your book. Just stop, man. Just stop. All right. Use them for make them part of your social media team and ask them to like and share everything that you post, but don't get mad at them because they don't buy your book, because truthfully, they might not be your audience. Mm-hmm. They might not be your audience. So one of the biggest things that have helped me promote my book is, one, recognizing it is a business card. Mm-hmm. It is a $2.50 business card. Mm-hmm. So because it's a $2.50 business card, my primary objective is not to get rich off selling books. Excellent. I'm not attempting to become a New York Times bestselling author and live off the royalties of my books coming in the mail. I'm attempting to use my books as leverage and platform to get to other places and spaces and do this leadership coaching training, workshop, keynote speaking. That being said, I have no problem, and I've done this several times, finding a person of influence at an organization, at a college, at a university, at a nonprofit, dropping a copy of the book in the mail with a note saying, hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. Can you please read this and let me know what you think? Oh,
love that. Okay.
I'm not trying to sell them.
Oh, I love that.
I'm giving them a gift. The gift is my writing. And I'm asking in return for the gift of writing, the gift of their opinion. Mm-hmm. And based on how they respond to the book, I leverage that conversation into something else. So it's man, I paid $2.50 for a copy of the book that I'm selling for $15, $20, but it's a business card. Mm-hmm. So I'm comfortable with how much of my cards I give away because I know the return on investment. I gave a book away. A person came back around and bought 85 copies for everybody on their team. Was that worth the $2.50? Well, plus mailing $5 or whatever that I spent to give them this gift. Absolutely. So be so comfortable with giving a certain percentage of things away because there will definitely be a return on investment once it gets into the hands of key people.
Excellent. Love that tip. Definitely want to use that. And then I get the numbers running through my head. It was running through all right, so if I got to give out 100 books at $5 and I get the one investment for the one speaking engagement, which in the beginning was $1,700, I still got a $1,200 come up. So, which means now I can go back and do the same thing again while I'm spending the $1,200.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I was like, those numbers definitely work. People will miss that fact that the numbers work.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why I asked you to look at your numbers. Where are we going and see, like you said, this is an investment.
Yeah.
See what the end return on the investment is. Even in the beginning, when you only could afford 4 books, you still invested in those 4 books so that you could try to get more books. You already had it in your mind, the entrepreneurial mindset. I got to invest so I can get more products and start selling. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, so let's go. We're going to go into some of the fun questions here as we're wrapping up everything today. So what is your favorite book? And I understand this is coming behind your first 2. So what is your number 3 book? And if you got to come down to, if you need to, give us your top 3 if you need to.
My favorite book, that I've read, or?
Just your favorite book. I don't care if it's your favorite book you've read or just the one you recommend the most, however you want to define it.
Whew, man, that's like asking a dad who his favorite kids are, man. You got
that's why I gave you a top 3. You can use top 3, right?
Yeah. So I've had some books that have been very, very, very transformative for me. One is Boundaries by
Dude, I think you're at least the second, I want to say third person on this podcast who's talked about book Boundaries.
Yeah, Boundaries by, I think, Henry Cloud and Townsend, man. That book, just being comfortable that as you progress, the levels of access that people have to you, the way that you manage your interactions, the way that you guard yourself. And, many of us come from, not many of us, but there are some of us that come from trauma-filled, toxic environments, and we didn't have boundaries put in place. Right. And everything is kind of coalesced. And in order to have the success that we're looking for personally, professionally, emotionally, socially, spiritually, there needs to be some boundaries established and not feel bad by placing those boundaries. So that book, Boundaries, was incredible for me. Second one, John Maxwell, 5 Levels of Leadership. Great book. 5 Levels of Leadership. And remembering just the best leaders reproduce leaders.
Yeah, okay. Now I remember, it was coming back to me as you're saying that. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so just realizing that personally, you could be witty, you could be engaging, people could love to be around you, but if you're not producing other leaders, you're not really maximizing really what you've been giving. You're doing a general disservice to the world. So, that's very, very important. Another favorite book of mine is called Os Guinness. The book is called The Call.
Okay.
It's by Os Guinness, and the premise of the book is that everybody has a gift to share with the world. Everybody is called to do something with their gifts and their talents and their abilities, and going on the journey of what your particular calling and gifting looks like and how you share that with the world.
Love it. Definitely have all those in the show notes. Love that. Love it. So now this question is, what is your favorite quote?
Man, there's so, not to be like extra John Maxwell, but a little theme. Okay. And what he said, we have uphill goals, but we have downhill habits.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that just, and then James Baldwin, I don't know if you're a James Baldwin fan, African-American author and cultural critic. James Baldwin says, young people often fail to listen to their elders, but they never fail to imitate them.
Yeah. Wow. Ooh, I like that one because it's been so true. Yeah. I never heard that one before, but that is so true. Wow, that's a good one. So good, so good. Especially from a parenting perspective.
Man, listen.
They're going. It's leave it to an author to be eloquent with the statement. Because what I heard growing up was do as I say, not as I do, but knowing that I'm going to do what you do and not what you say. But,
absolutely.
But that's just so eloquent. All right. So before you tell us where we can find you on social media or online, which maybe some next projects or anything that you want to share with us, I want you to take your time right now and it's your stage here. Share your message. What message you must share with the world? Just go ahead and share that with TFP family.
Yeah, it's really tough sometimes when you think about where you've been and what you're dealing with right now and the obstacles that you're facing. But the crazy thing is that you're only going to be able to live the life that you have the possibility to live and that you're called to live on the other side of the thing that you're afraid of. It's actually getting to the other side of the fear of, if I write it, will they read it? If I try, who will listen? What if I mess up and I fail? It is only on the other side of those things that you receive the knowledge, the experience, and the support to get to the next level in life. And understand that facing your fear and finding courage is not the absence of fear. It's knowing that even though you're scared, even though you're afraid, you're going to do it anyway. And great things always happen when you do it anyway.
Great things always happen when you do it anyway. Love it. All right, Mr. Quinn, I appreciate you being on the show. Before we sign off here, go ahead and share with TFP family what's next for you. I can connect with you. Go ahead and leave those, and we'll definitely put those links in the show notes.
Yeah, so I am in the middle of a tour for my latest book, Leading While Scared, How to Find the Courage to Keep Going. We just did a tour stop in DC. We're going to be in Baltimore in December, and we're going to be in Orlando in January. You can check out all the tour dates at pierrequinn.com. If you hop over to my website, pierrequinn.com/Success Keys, you'll download a free ebook. I've tapped into some of the world's top leadership development coaches, writers, authors, speakers, and they've given free advice on how to be successful as an emerging leader. That's pierrequinn.com/Success Keys. And to get a copy of my book, Leading While Scared, go to pierrequinn.com/scared.
Love it. Love it. Definitely have those in there. And if you're trying to understand what emergent leadership is, you got the free download right there before you go ahead and grab that book, Leading While Scared, there from Pierre Quinn. I love this. Yo, this has been awesome. I knew it was gonna be awesome because you were understanding and intelligent enough to go look at Howard University.
HU, right? HU. You already know.
But no, Pierre, I appreciate you for what you're sharing with the world, with your message you're sharing. I watched some of your videos you had on there, especially I think you did one that was the track star who fell down on her face and gets up and she finished the race. I was like, that's good. That's good. That's good. So good. There's some videos out there for y'all to check out on Pierre also, on what he's been speaking about. So again, y'all, thank you for being here. And it's been awesome, man. Thank you so much for what you share with the world. All right, keep leading strong, brother.
Man, appreciate you for your platform and your willingness to do that, man. I know it's going to help a lot of people.
Most definitely. God bless.
You've just listened to episode number 19 of the Thought Fortunes podcast with your host, D. Orlando Fortune. I want to give thanks to our sound and audio guy, Kyle Binge, and of course to our creator. Do you have questions or comments from today's episodes? Please email them to fortune@thoughtfortunepress.com. And if you want to turn your ideas into a branded book that books more speaking engagements and generates more leads, and have a signature suite of products that generates more streams of income for your business, go to thoughtfortunepress.com and click on the Start Here button. That's thoughtfortunepress.com. And if you like the show, do us a favor. Share, like, and join. Take a screenshot and share the episode with the hashtag ThoughtFortunesPodcast. And then show us how much you like us by giving us 5 stars. Yes, I said 5 stars and a review on iTunes. And then pop on into the conversation in the Facebook group, Write Your First Book. Love to talk to you in there. Always dropping nuggets and extra tidbits in the Facebook group. That'll be all for today. And always remember that you're only one book away. God bless. Until next time.